TFF episode 5, TFF podcast, match week 6, 5. All right, screw it. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to episode number 5 of the Footy Forum podcast, where we talk to you about match week 6. All the games that happened. We're going to get you in-depth analysis. Mogi, what's going on, mate?
Not much. Busy guy. Busy, got a lot going on, but no, another great weekend of football. And yeah, looking forward to chat about it.
That's it. So just so everyone knows, again, this is match week 6 that we're going to be going over. The week started on Friday, the 23rd of October, and ran to Monday as usual, the 26th. And we'll talk to you about all the games one by one. Despite losing, Evertonians are still sit pretty at the top of the table. And who knows, maybe that won't last for too long. But let's get right into it. Mogi, where do we start?
I think you touched on the Evertonians. So I think Liverpool might be a good city to start, but maybe let's look at Liverpool themselves, see how they got on this weekend.
Let's open up the notes. Obviously, involved in doing analysis like this, we don't want to just show up like Jamie Carragher and Gary Neville. Want to try to get you some quality insight at least. But yeah, interesting game. Liverpool obviously needing to pick up 3 points after
match
week last week. Did it so 2-1 win. Definitely wasn't easy because
was not convincing.
While the boys struggling, Sheffield United needed to get something on the board as they're having a shocker start. Today's match marked the 62 unbeaten games at Anfield. So they haven't lost in 62 games at home, Liverpool.
They've won the last 27 of 28 as well.
Shocking. And you know what's interesting is Jurgen Klopp said the team can still feel the ambiance of Anfield and how, it's still a fortress even without the fans. He mentioned that, so that was pretty interesting.
I'm not convinced, but
you're not convinced, huh?
No.
Well, they picked up the win.
But Sheffield, I mean, we can get into it, but Sheffield United, just they're struggling to get goals right now.
We talked about this. No one's had a great start. And I think that's another good point. I mean, where Liverpool hasn't started amazing this season, we're talking about 3 points. They picked up 3 points where they needed to. And I think it's going to be basically who has the best of the worst starts in these first 10 games.
Honestly. And do you want another hot take?
Let's hear it.
Because last week I obviously gave my take on Werner as the best striker since Didier Drogba. I've got another hot take. Assuming things stay as they are and Liverpool don't bring anyone new or anything like that, I no longer see them as the favourites for the title.
Fair. Because who do you see then as favourites for the title?
Because it's still got to be Man City. It's still got to be Man City, even though they've had a bad start, because of the quality they have in their side, and they can just switch it on. But when it comes to us previewing the season and looking at the league so far and the next international break, I think depending on how City do between now and then, there's only a couple more games. But I think it could be a different story. I think the likes of Chelsea and Tottenham can be in that conversation. Because what I saw this weekend from Liverpool, because they didn't create that many chances, but they took their chances. And the quality in the side compared to Sheffield United was was so distant. It just wasn't even close. I'm very worried about them at the back. Very worried and concerned about. We talked about last week, the gap that Van Dijk leaves, but there's just no one even close to filling it right now. Not even close.
In my opinion, this year it's Liverpool are either going to win the title or they're going to lose themselves the title. And it's the same for City, where they can only really lose it for themselves because they have the quality. You talk about Van Dijk, you'd imagine that he wouldn't be the key to all their obviously success, even though he's a really good player, world-class defender.
Yeah.
But again, I mean, for me, from what I've seen so far, I still would fancy Liverpool's quality right now over City. But since judging on what I've seen from City, because they haven't been obviously killer in their start. So yeah, we can talk a little bit more about it. Let's talk a little bit how the game panned out.
So I don't know how many times I have to repeat myself because I'm starting to get a bit sick of it. But defenders need to learn when to clear the ball. So Fabinho here coming in for Van Dijk today, and you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 Sheffield United players in this area. You've got to get rid of the ball. There's no debate. Again, get rid of the ball. Don't care who you play for. Liverpool, Colchester, Rochdale, you get rid of the ball. I'll say it again. Now, I think he might have attempted to get rid of the ball, but use your brain here and kick the ball up in the air. Don't kick the ball straight. He didn't get any height on the ball. And it bounced off Lundstrom, I believe. And here's McBurney on the edge of the box. Now, tell me, what damage is he going to do from there? You just stand your ground and block the shot. He's either going to lay it off to the guy behind him, or he's going to try have a shot himself, right? Worst case, maybe he'll play it out wide. There'll be a runner.
Yeah.
You see where I'm going with this, yeah? So my point is that is on the edge of the box as well. Is there a need to make that tackle? I don't personally think so. You stand your ground, you block the shot. But Fabinho's dived in, and after VAR review is given a penalty, and that is what led to Sheffield United's goal. And that is just shocking defending from Fabinho.
Not confident defending, and then they give away the penalty. And it could have been worse. So luckily they were able to fight back. Opa. Oh my God. VAR.
VAR here. But there's your Liverpool line, right? There's your line of defense, okay? Got the VAR protractor out here. That's your line. I'm just using a ruler to emphasize. That is your line. So why is Robertson further back? I don't understand. You've got the 3 players here, and then you've got Robertson way back here. So I don't understand. Again, I don't know if it's communication or a lack of leadership without Van Dijk, but Robertson here is clearly playing McBurney on side. And he may be a tiny inch offside, but that would go down to a VAR review, 100%. Luckily, McBurney missed the chance. But my point is, there needs to be better leadership back here. Someone's got to fill in for Van Dijk and demand that line to be up here. Robertson shouldn't be this deep, especially when his man's over here. There's no reason why Robertson can't push up to here.
Yeah.
There's no excuse for it.
Switched off of focus, and he's probably obviously, as you mentioned, thinking about that wide player and switched off from the defensive unit. So no, I mean
exactly, and they almost got punished. Again, this is Sheffield United on the break now. Brewster, I think he's a young talent with bright future ahead of him. Obviously coming from Liverpool, actually signing for £23.5 million. It's a lot of money, so they see a lot of potential in him, and I think he has that. Now here again, you've got Joe Gomez, who's come quite high up. Wijnaldum there as well. Brewster's, luckily for Liverpool, taken the touch that takes him to the outside. Okay? He's going to the outside. However, here, you see Berger running through here, and that could be a gap. If Brewster took a touch and was able to turn inside instead, then suddenly you've got a big run there that you'd have to track. And whether Arnold would get there, I don't know. So, again, Liverpool's defence looking like it can be cracked open at any moment, really. And these are just things which concern me.
You'd like to think that they have the quality that, they might obviously not get to the same level, but they'll get better as a unit with communication, with understanding of each other.
Yeah, no, exactly. But you say that, but I would take it one step further and say that I would be concerned. So unless a young player comes in and proves otherwise, you need to go get a signing as soon as possible. And it doesn't matter how much it costs you, you go and do it. Because the thing you have to remember about Van Dijk is there is no guarantee Van Dijk is going to come back as the same Van Dijk we've known. These injuries, a lot of the time, have a history of players coming back and they're kind of like a shadow of themselves. They're not the same player they once were. There's a lot of rehab involved and it takes a long time to come back. There's no guarantee he'll be back at the start of next season. These are really serious injuries.
Good point. That's a good point. Yeah.
It's a really serious injury. And look, we all hope that he does. He's a phenomenal player and we'd love to see him back exactly. But given his age as well, he's getting close to 30. There is no guarantee he'll come back as the same player. No guarantee. You've got the same thing in basketball right now with Kevin Durant, one of the best basketball players in the NBA. He's going to be coming back from an injury whenever the season starts again. And no one really knows if he's going to come back as the same superstar player that we know. He might, and we're hoping it proves a lot of people wrong, but a lot of people are predicting that he won't be the same. And it could very well be the same story for Van Dijk. So going back to my point, I think you bring in someone who's a top talent that can, that is Van Dijk-esque. And what does that mean? It means the potential to be a leader, but also the potential to be a strong defender and a distributor. So when I hear things like Liverpool offering big money for Ben White, it doesn't surprise me because I know he's an ex-Leeds player, but no bias here. Like, bias aside, he is still a great player and he's got a bright future ahead of him. And Liverpool's the kind of system where he can really, really shine in terms of the way he plays as a defender. So I think Liverpool need to sign someone that they think about for long term. So a younger player that they have long-term aspirations for without the guarantee that Van Dijk comes in there and Van Dijk can play maybe more of a mentor kind of role, showing him the ropes.
Yeah.
So I think you maybe think about Van Dijk with that person as a pairing going forwards.
Yeah. Well, we'll see in January. Obviously, they're going to know that that's a big area for replacement. And now they got to wait. It's kind of unfortunate the timing right after the window closed.
Just want to circle here. So this is Jota. He's coming to the starting lineup. And if you're going to play in Liverpool's midfield, you need to be fit. You need to be alert at all times because they're box to box. They run up and down the field. So, because I just want to show what I mean. So here, he's not really aware of the guy behind him. And this is where it shows. Right here is when he's looked over his shoulder and he's seen him and he's realizing that he's going to come in at the back post and he chases and chases. However, he doesn't quite make it. He doesn't quite make the chase. And Sheffield United almost scored from it, but only because he wasn't alert in the first place. And then he was just playing catch up the whole time. So that's another thing to think about. This was the first goal here. And if you look, they're tight to his man. But Basham here, not tight enough to Mane.
Yeah. It's tough. Sometimes this angle is tough to see the depth, but I think here it's obvious that he, given the header that he's able to make from it.
Yeah, exactly. And when these crosses come in, you need to stick to your man, right? Don't worry too much about the ball. Just stick to your man, and then as long as you've got your man, he can't score, right? And if everyone does that, doesn't really matter where the ball lands. The idea is that they won't be able to score. I want to come to the second goal. This is the second goal here. And the same thing again. So lovely cross from Mane and Stevens again. He's just focused on the ball and he's not close enough to Jota. He's not a tall person, Jota. So if you're tight to him, you're always going to win that header. But even though it looks small, this small gap was enough so that it went over Stevens' head. And Mane is an amazing crosser of the ball. And he lands it perfectly so Jota's able to nod it in. And they go up 2-1.
It was a good finish as well. I mean, it was a made no mistakes with the header.
The final thing I want to come to here is just a summary, really, of what my biggest takeaway was from this game. Because Liverpool got 3 points. But as I said, for me, that was purely because a combination of Sheffield United's lack of scoring ability, or lack of clinicalness, if you will, and Liverpool's ability to finish and to be clinical. So basically a huge contrast in the way the two teams can take away their chances, basically. So this is Fabinho here with Burke, who's just come on the pitch. And if I'm Fabinho, the ball's here, Burke's just come on the pitch. I want to send him a strong message that you're in for, a long 30 minutes or however long was left in the game. I would slide in there and win the ball, and it goes out for a throw, and I'd take him out. Not a dirty challenge, just going in for the ball, just pulling a bit on him, letting him know you're there, right? That's what I would personally do in that situation. But instead, he tries to stand his ground, and if I just wind it forward here, this is him, Burke blowing by him lagging behind, and Sheffield United had a chance to score. And it's just not good enough from my perspective. I just don't think it's good enough in the slightest.
Yeah.
And I think that really that play really summarizes it for me.
You summed it up well. I think it's a probably a good time to play Sheffield United, you'd imagine. Andy Robertson, we've talked about a little bit about the penalty shout. For me, I think for the majority of people, 99% would say that it was not a handball, running motion. You could tell.
Exactly. It's good to see them ruling that out. It is really, I'm really happy to see that, because nothing he could do. He's just in a natural. The rule is an unnatural position. Now that means you have to be doing something that is a natural, and obviously running is natural. If you jump, good luck trying to jump without swinging your arms. Do you know what I mean? So the fact that they're starting to recognize that, it's good to see.
With that, we can go to the other title contenders, serious title contenders, as they traveled to the capital, to London, and played West Ham United, who have been really good of late. 1-1 in the end. Obviously, a game where Man City won't be happy. West Ham, showed that there are no pushovers, and it's a great point. I think David Moyes will be thrilled with that.
Yeah.
There was chances for both teams. There was, especially nearing the end, both teams could have picked up all 3 points. I'm interested to hear what you think.
Yeah, I think Man City, played a good performance, but at the end of the day, you're not picking up 3 points. And I think the issue with Man City is how many games they're going to go without, grabbing 3 points, or with dropping, more and more points. I think the fact they've already dropped 7 points is really concerning in itself. 7 points in 5 games?
Yeah.
That's bad. That's bad.
Start in the last, I think, 5 years, 5 or 6 years.
Yeah. I mean, lucky enough, no one's made a great start, so it's still wide open. And it's been it's what I'd call a topsy-turvy season, in terms of you just don't know who's gonna, come out on top each match week.
No more is Man City. You go play Man City and it's a free hit, because especially I think we saw it more last season, that they're not the beast that they were in the previous 2 seasons prior to that, and teams are going at them and really giving them a hard time. As we said,
definitely.
We're starting 5-6 years.
Don't get me wrong. West Ham had chances. They had chances. So here's the West Ham goal. So quite simply, the ball comes in and you look. You got 1. So I'll just point them out here. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Man City players around you, and you're looking at that and you're thinking, what can he really do from that position? But proves us wrong. Bicycle kick. Gorgeous. Absolutely beautiful.
I think he shows his physicality too. He uses his body well. Obviously, just the ability to just get off the defender and who's going to expect that? Physical player, but also
and
amazing.
You have to find the right connection there. You have to find the exact connection to be able to get it on target with enough pace. And he did exactly that. And Antonio's on a really good run of form. He's the second highest goal scorer since the restart in June last season, behind Harry Kane.
Yes.
So he is a really informed striker. And he's actually got a very fascinating story. I recommend people to go read into Antonio's story and his rise to kind of playing regularly for West Ham in Premier League football, because he was a very late starter. He wasn't someone that kind of was identified from a young age. He came through in his 20s, and it's a really interesting story. So I definitely recommend people to go read a bit more into that. But now let's have a look at the Man City goal. So obviously Phil Foden, who'd come on at half time, looking to make an immediate impact. And you look here and things look under control. There's not too much on. But obviously you've got Phil Foden in the picture here. And Declan Rice, who's here, needs to figure out what he wants to do here, because you either need to pick up Foden or you need to help out wide. You need to do something. So let me move the play on a bit here. And okay, so Declan Rice has decided to go out and help João Cancelo. So he needs to try and get out there a bit more. So that's Declan Rice. Now you also need to communicate, because Foden's here. So you need to tell Balbuena that he's got to pick him up. He's got to keep an eye on him. Phil Foden's now Balbuena's responsibility. Okay. So if you're going to help, you've got to make sure you avoid that one-on-one, because Cancelo's quick, right? He can blow by you. So you've got to make sure you're helping so that Balbuena doesn't get drawn out and he can stick to Foden. Yeah? Mm-hmm. So I'll move the play on even further. And Declan Rice has decided to, I don't know if he fancies a trip to Cancun or something, but he's just decided to kind of chill out over here and not really get involved with the play. And Cancelo blows by him, and now Balbuena's really now stuck kind of in no man's land. He's got his back to Foden as well. This is what concerns me. He's got his back to Foden, so he can't actually see him. Mm-hmm. And obviously Foden's in a bunch of space. So if I move it on a bit further, no one's picking him up. The ball comes into Foden, and he takes a turn to control it, and he puts it in, and it's 1-1. And that's just kind of, I think it's down to Declan Rice, lack of effort there, and Balbuena's lack of awareness, I think, is the blame for that goal.
That's shocking. I mean, from that he wasn't able to spot him. He gets, he falls for it. He bites inside, but leaving so much space and an amazing opportunity for Foden.
Exactly. And Cancelo on a one-on-one is going to beat most defenders just because he's so quick. He is so quick. And if you have a 2-on-1 there and you get two defenders involved, one can block him going down the channel as he did, and one can block him trying to come inside. So then he's kind of limited his options and he has to go back. So Declan Rice played a big part in that for me. Now I want to mostly kind of highlight City. So, I mean, firstly, what's going on here, Jovan? Can you help me understand? Like, I wish I could just kind of display my phone number on the screen right now and start a helpline for people to call in and explain to me what Man City think they're doing here. Because when I'm a kid, I learn that the offside rule is if a player's in his own half, he is onside. So why have they left someone in a ton of space and onside?
Yeah.
It's Fornals, I believe. What is this defending? What is going on here? This is shocking.
This is shocking. Teams, not only just in England, but like top teams in England, but a lot of teams around Europe, they're bringing the line so high.
You can't bring the line further than the halfway line, though. It doesn't go further than that. Yeah. So if you can't drag the line further, then you will stick to the line, especially if a player's there.
Yeah.
There's a player there. It's nuts. There's a player. Look, I'm going to show you what happened. Look, so no surprise there. Fornals is now in on goal. If Fornals has got to do Bellage, he just straight into the gloves of Ederson. But any decent striker would dink that over Edison and 2-1 West Ham.
Yeah.
For me.
Dangerous, definitely, from City, I think.
It's shocking defending for Man City. Absolute joke. It's an absolute joke. I want to show you Man City's attack, and I'm going to give you 3 examples of what I'm talking about. So this example number 1, Cancelo has the ball. We know Man City very well. Bang, goal. Right? But he tries to take a touch. It's a bad touch, and the ball ends up going out for a goal kick. Okay?
Shocking.
That's example 1. Example number 2. This is Mahrez. You either use your chest or your head, play it into Sterling. Sterling runs onto it. Bang, 2-1. Easy.
Hey, or you just finish it.
Or finish it.
Yeah.
But most importantly, a bit more unselfishness. Just play into Sterling. And we've seen Man City score very unselfish goals in the past. But he tries to take a touch. Again, a bad touch. And the ball runs out again. Let me go to the 3rd example. Now, this one was bad because this was in the dying minutes of the game, right? And this was Gundogan, I believe. And I get what he's seeing here. The angle doesn't really show it, but between Fabianski and the post, there is a gap here. And he tried to exploit it, but Fabianski did make a great save. However,
look at the passing space. Yeah.
I don't know why you just don't give it to Sterling there. And then Sterling can have a shot. And then it just goes in and it's 2-1 to Man City. And despite an up and down performance, you've taken 3 points from the game. But no, he decides to go it himself. Saved by Fabianski and, corner, but the chance is gone. It just confuses me. I don't get why players are so selfish in the Premier League. I think it's just got something to do with their big egos on big salaries and stuff. But for me, that's disappointing because he has the vision. I have no doubt that he considered it as an option, but you instead tried to go it alone because you want the glory to yourself, getting the winner in that. So disappointing to see, really, from a Man City perspective.
That's a big result against a top team. However, now here's the question. Can West Ham finish in the top half? And why can't they?
Can they? Yes. Will they?
Will they? That's a better question. Will they?
I don't think they will, and I'll tell you why. Because they are looking good, but when you look at the quality of the side and you look at some of the other teams, they just don't have enough to crack into that top 10 for me. I don't think it's a reflection on West Ham as a team because I think they are a good side, but I don't think they've made the same improvements as other teams. And for that reason, I just don't think they have enough to get into the top 10. I think they can have a good season, but I don't think they're as good as teams like Leicester, teams like Leeds, I would even say this season, who look really good, Everton, these sorts of teams who we think, may finish somewhere between 5th and 10th. I don't think West Ham are in that group of teams yet.
And second question to this, I don't know, you obviously remember the days where Everton was also a good side under David Moyes. They really were that 7th team in the Premier League. If he's given, he's been there for a relatively, a decent amount of time, I guess, for now. Can he create the same thing with West Ham? West Ham is a big club. There's no ifs, ands, buts about that. But is he? I don't think he's past his prime. We don't know really much about Moisey right now, but he's a good manager. He's done good things with teams similar. I would kind of put Everton and West Ham in terms of the same stature of club, really.
Yeah.
Maybe even West Ham could be bigger. So, what do you think? If maybe not this season, next season, can they be that team like a Leicester, like a Wolves?
Yeah. I don't believe there's any system which is it's like you have to play like that in order to, be one of those teams. There's no correct system. We've seen Burnley succeed with a very kind of traditional old school system. And it's more, and this is more the reason why I don't think they can do it this season. They don't have the players. They don't have enough Depth, I think, is a big thing, but also just the quality in their squad. They've made some good signings, you know. Bowen was a big signing. They brought in Ben Rama from Brentford, who's a great player as well. But I think maybe more on the defensive end, they need to invest. They're a huge club now. They've got the big stadium. They need to invest in these kind of bigger players, as Everton have done, you know?
Yeah.
So I think that's the biggest barrier to stopping them. Not Moyes. I think Moyes could do a good job with an even stronger team, but they need to bring in more quality. Unfortunately, that's the way it is nowadays. You need to bring in more quality to compete.
Let's move on and talk about Southampton, the Saints hosting Everton, the league leaders. You look at this game, you mentioned it a little bit earlier, and you thought, here's a chance for Everton to really, pick up another 3 points and just jump that little bit further. Definitely didn't pan out that way. I was surprised. I saw a really good Southampton performance. Could have been more. Could have been way more than 2-0. What's your thoughts?
I'll take it one team at a time. So let me talk from a Southampton perspective first. Great performance against a side who, as we've said, look really good this season, but they exploited them and they took the game to them and they showed no fear. And I thought it was very impressive. They look very solid, well-drilled team. And it's been roughly 12 months since that infamous 9-0 loss to Leicester. And I still dig at Southampton ownership, because when you look at how the team are doing now, and they're doing pretty well, they could be doing so much better if they handle their transfers better and they bring in more quality into the club. But I think they're still doing a great job, and they've come a long way since that shocking defeat. So from a Southampton perspective, very good. From an Everton perspective, it's disappointing because you've had some big results. Everyone's starting to talk about you, and then you really let yourself down here. And I think the body language of some of the players towards the end of the game was really disappointing to see. Defensively, and when I say defensively, I don't just mean the defense. I mean the team from a defensive perspective. Good enough. There's not enough communication, and it was a really poor display. And going forwards, it wasn't good enough either.
Southampton came out very, very positively. Obviously, we're one up quickly in the game, and I think they looked full of confidence. They looked like they got better as the game went on. And you mentioned kind of Everton didn't show their quality, didn't show character. I think most importantly, Shea Adams obviously, doubling the advantage 2-0 at the 35th minute. So then it could have been 3-0. Obviously, the third goal that was called offside before halftime was marginally offside. So at that point, checkmate. But let's get into the analysis.
So this was just a chance that Southampton had. It wasn't a goal, but these were early signs of what was to come. So gonna circle a few players here. So we've got Mina here, Alan here, Godfrey here. Okay. So Ings, Bertrand, and here you've got Redmond as well. All that needs to happen here is some really, really, really simple communication, okay? And I think Mina's trying to get at something here. So he's saying to hopefully Alan, who's got Ings? Ings is standing here. And then that's Alan's job to step up. I'm going to show you in blue kind of what is needed here. Alan needs to step up on Ings, okay? And then you've got two Southampton players on the left side here. And then that's Mina's job to then step up and say, I've got Redmond, and Godfrey, you just focus on Bertrand, okay? But I'm going to wind forward, and it all goes wrong. It all goes horribly wrong here. So here's what happens, okay? Ings stands here with the ball. Alan didn't pick him up, so Ings now has a ton of space. Mina hasn't picked up Redmond, so Godfrey has had to come in here on Redmond. That's them here. Alan needs to step up on Ings, but it's far too late, so Ings got a ton of space. And then because Godfrey came in to mark Redmond, no one is out here looking at Bertrand. So Ings very easily plays the pass out wide. and they cross the ball in and they almost score from it. Or I believe it might have been blocked out for a corner because Godfrey had to charge out to him. But a just complete lack of communication leads to just chaos at the back. And this is exactly what happened later on. And it's shocking. It's shocking. And I'll point it out. Let's have a look at the first goal here initially. So you got Ward-Prowse bursting through here. And I'm going to circle out Mina because you need to have a bit of awareness here. So you know that Ward-Prowse may get in behind Keane here. So you know as well Godfrey's behind you. So you don't need to worry so much about this guy. You don't need to worry about him. Godfrey's got him covered. You just need to be aware that you might have here, if Ward-Prowse does get through, you may have to come across and cut that out. Right? That makes sense, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So if I wind it forward here, what happens is when Ward-Prowse goes to pull off the shot, Mina is kind of caught in no man's land. He's not picking up anyone because he didn't go towards the ball. Ward-Prowse gets a shot away, and it's 1-0 to Southampton. And Mina just needs to be more alert there, and that's just not good enough defensively. So that goal 100% could have been prevented, but it is a great finish from Ward-Prowse. I want to focus more here on the second goal. So Everton like to press high. As you can see here, they've got a very high press going on as it is. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Everton players here, all picking up people. But you've just got to be much tighter. If you're Godfrey and you're this high up the pitch, you've got to go close them down. You've got to be tighter. Stay right there where you are. You've all got to be much tighter to your players. And that goes for the defense as well. So what happens then is Bertrand then plays a long ball into Che Adams, and Keane is giving him way too much space because he's stepping back here. You can see by his foot, he's stepping back. He needs to be on Che Adams as soon as he takes that first touch. If you want to press the ball, this is how you're playing. So if you want to press the ball, you have to step up on Adams here. But Adams is given too much time, and he's easily able to find the ball out wide to Ings too easily because he steps up on him and then he drops back. That's not how a press is. A press is putting pressure on as soon as the ball is going into that player's feet. So they haven't done it well enough there. You know that the ball's going forward. You've got to keep your eyes on Che Adams as the play progresses. But he doesn't. And he doesn't communicate for anyone to pick him up. So here's Keane in no man's land. Honestly, as I said, another player may as well, they should do a group holiday. They may as well be in Cancun at this point. So you've got Ings out wide here. And here's Che Adams all by himself. Now, you, at the minimum, you communicate to Alan. You say, look, I'm dropping back in. Go pick up Che Adams. Because Sigurdsson is charging back to try and pick up Ward-Prowse here at the back post. So you have to communicate to Alan and say, pick up Che Adams. But he doesn't do that. And now if we wind it forward again, look at this. This is just Alan's. Not only does Alan not pick him up or trail back or, behind him, picking him up, he's gone a completely different direction. He's gone this way. Che Adams has gone that way. What are you doing? What are you doing? And there's two players on the ball. I don't understand why there needs two players on the ball when there's someone back here as well who you haven't thought about. But the biggest thing for here is Alan. Why has he gone the other way? No one's picked up. And Decore as well. He's not even looking at him. They're all just staring at the ball and ball watching. Meanwhile, right over here, hey guys, remember me? I'm Che Adams, the guy that started off the play and you haven't picked up. I'm a striker. I'm on the edge of the box here, and I might be able to score a goal. Thank you. And that's exactly what happens. Comes to the back post. It goes over Sigurdsson's head. You have your pick. Have your pick. Who do you want to score? Should I do it? Should I do it? It's unbelievable. Just standing in no man's land. And Adams, has a strike. And as we know, it's 2-0 Southampton. But it's really poor. It's really poor from an Everton perspective. It's not good enough at all.
Yeah, I think we talked about, obviously the start was surprising to all of us. Probably even caught Everton on the surprise a little bit. But I think the character for me, and it's asking questions of what this Everton side can be throughout 38 games this season, and the fact that they weren't able to change the game and even really get into the game. Because as I said at the beginning, it could have been more than 2-0. Very close to being 3-0 before halftime. So questions will be asked from Carlo Ancelotti's side. However, they are still top of the league for these next few days.
Let me say this, and I think this concludes kind of this conversation with this match quite nicely. So you look at Everton, and the reason why they're a great team this year, you've brought in a great manager, and you've increased the quality of your squad. Now, quality is an important factor. You need good players. And we were saying about West Ham, they don't quite have the quality right now. Mm-hmm. Everton have the quality. They've got the players. But then another aspect that comes into it, and it's so important, is are your team well drilled? Are your team really fit? Now, I turn to a team like Leeds United. They're really well drilled and they're really fit. And that is why they're successful. The quality is coming. We're not quite there. We still need more quality if we're going to keep pushing, but they're well drilled and they're very fit players. And that's why they're succeeding. Now, Southampton, they seem pretty fit, but they're especially well drilled. And I said at the beginning, very well drilled team. And that's why they were able to expose Everton today, because they're very well drilled and everyone knew their roles, knew their position, and they knew what they needed to do to succeed. Now, Everton have the quality, but today they showed a team that were not well drilled and lack fitness. Rodriguez isn't a young. Even Alan, he's not super young. So there just seemed to be a lack of understanding of what's going on, a complete lack of communication there in terms of multiple times in the game. Complete lack of communication that led to them scoring. Really, really poor. And I think that is all Everton need to work on to prevent themselves from becoming like a European team in the sense of where they finish in the Premier League. Because if they're well drilled and they're fit and they're full fitness, the quality is there. They just need to understand what they're doing and talk to each other more. Maybe it's just the fact that there's some new faces and they need more time. But that was the difference for Mako and for this match, really.
A result like this might be a good thing to really test them and show their character. I talked about that with Leeds. Leeds had a great response this week, and it's gonna be interesting to see how Everton obviously responds next week.
Tottenham are a great example as well against Everton. They lost, and how have they come back? Well, 3 wins, 2 draws.
So we move on to North London, and Arsenal had a big test against Leicester rather. Tough one, and obviously negative result in the end of the day. A game where Arsenal played well. I was happy with the way they played. Leicester had a plan, knew what they wanted to do, and Vardy came on in the last half an hour. And
a little late night robbery.
11 goals he scored against Arsenal, which is a lot, and it was his 109th goal in the Premier League, which is quite a bit. I think he's tied for 23rd all time.
He's coming.
Impressive for a guy like him.
Neither team created that much, to be honest. Like, Arsenal came up. I think an important thing is, obviously, you look at possession. Arsenal had, I think it was almost 60% possession, but it's what you do with that possession that counts. It's what you do with the possession. And Arsenal didn't create that much. Yes, they had a couple chances, but both teams' expected goals were underneath 1. So, in other words, the quality of chances weren't that great. And I think it was one of those games where you're watching and you're thinking, this is either a 0-0 draw, or if one of those teams can just have one big moment, they can nick the points. And that's exactly what happened with Leicester.
Arsenal's first loss at home at the Emirates in this year of 2020. And we'll talk a little bit more about it. Arsenal, in my opinion, were the better team for majority of the match, but just dropped a level, and they got caught at the end.
So obviously this is the offside goal. Now this is so you say you think it's a goal, don't you?
100%.
For the reason that Xhaka's not active, correct? We're all agreeing he's offside.
He is offside guaranteed, but I'm just looking at Schmeichel and his line of vision, and right now Xhaka is not interfering with his line of vision. He is relative. It's tough to obviously judge it from this angle, but it's not like he's too far away from Schmeichel rather. However, in terms of line of vision, he's not in the way, he's not interfering, and he didn't touch the ball. So I'm interested to know, the arguments to that as well, because you could argue it, but I think the fact that he's not in his line of vision, he's not obviously touching him directly. So I think it's in my opinion, it's a fair goal.
Here's what I think now. I think that an argument can be made that yes, he's not affecting his line of vision, but is he invading his space and is preventing him from saving the ball? So if he has to dive, which he would really, like, he didn't react kind of well enough, but the way the header went, he needs to dive there to be able to save it. He's directly in the line of where the ball goes and prevents Schmeichel from saving it.
If I wish we were able to watch the video, because the video was he got beat and he didn't even have to turn his body. He got beat simply because of the. I honestly think if even if Xhaka wasn't there, he would have got beat as well. Obviously, it's easier to say that than to know for sure, but it's even more clear in the video watching the actual goal that he got beat. Even if Xhaka wasn't there, he still didn't react in time. And
see, I disagree. So I think he's offside there. I would give offside in terms of I think he's in Schmeichel's way, and he prevents him whether actually he tries to save it or not. He's preventing him from making that save, and he's in the direct line of where the ball goes. That's my opinion. So I actually back the decision of offside.
Shocking is all I have to say. We shouldn't be relying on only this situation in the game to score a goal. We have top class attacking threats, and the fact that we weren't able to break Leicester on other occasions, proved costly.
Yeah, and let's look at the goal now. Okay, so here's the goal. Firstly, this man, obviously we all know him from FIFA over the years, Yuri Tielemans. He's really starting to improve. I mean, he's 25, 26 now maybe. He's really improving as a player, and his awareness here to receive the ball, open himself up with one touch, and he doesn't even look. He knows this run is being made, and Under has made a great run. But from an attacking perspective, it's a great run. It's a phenomenal ball. But this young man, Mr. Xhaka, you've got to be more alert here. As soon as you see this foot, he's off. He's off to the races. So you've got to, and Tierney as well, you've got to be ready to read that. You have to be ready. And they just weren't. And then the ball's played over and he's in on goal. He's passed, he's gone. And then Gabriel's just kind of stuck.
Yeah. At that point,
in no man's land. There's not much you can do. And we all know what happens here. Lovely finish. And smash and grab. Absolute robbery, but a well-deserved robbery, if you ask me. And I didn't think I'd ever say that about a robbery, but there you go.
Overall, I think not a great result from an Arsenal perspective, and I think honestly, it's going to be interesting to see how they respond, because we have been good at home. That's one thing that's been positive.
Yep.
As an Arsenal fan, so it's a big loss, especially to a team that you're going to be fighting with for chances. Obviously, in the Europa League and Champions League, our goal has to be top four.
Yeah, forget title race for a second. Top four. If you want top four, those are games you should be winning. Yeah. Not even drawing, winning.
You have to win. Having played obviously Liverpool, Man City, and now Leicester, and having lost all three of those games, I think is definitely disappointing.
Yeah. You're seeing the kind of form of a team who you'd expect to finish somewhere between like 7th and 10th.
Yeah.
Not pushing for top four. So it's disappointing. So let's talk about something exciting. Patrick got a hat-trick. Da 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 da. Da, 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 da.
Collapse of Villa. Villa loses 3-0 to a dominating.
It wasn't a collapse. It was a demolition.
Yeah.
The site was knocked down. The site didn't collapse. It was knocked down by a mighty force in Leeds United.
Yeah, Leeds responded well from last week's upsetting results at
It's
Wolves.
as you said. It's as you said. I think that the loss at Wolves maybe fueled them. You know,
Yeah.
lit a fire inside them that we definitely saw came out. And there were times when Villa looked good. They didn't look. They weren't poor. This is what I'm trying to say. Like Villa didn't play terribly. It could have gone either way. When you think about the chances they had had better chances. And Bielsa said it himself. They had better chances first before us. So they were the ones looking more likely to go ahead. It was only once we got that goal that we really started to pick it up, and then especially in the second half, even leading up to the goal. But initially they looked good, but we hung in there, and then we were able to, grab the goals in the second half. And I mean, some great goals that we'll look at in a moment. But yeah, great performance. I'm really happy for Leeds, and it shows us we can really compete in the Premier League.
Before we go into the analysis, I'll always ask you this question after every match day. Is top 6, top 7 a possibility? Is Europe a possibility, mate?
I'm not saying it. I'm not going back and living through those times. I'm just not doing it.
Oh, but I will say, and I could have the screenshot, but during the game, I remember I was watching the game and I heard from you, maybe at 2 or 3-0, you go, this is huge. This is a big club. A big club we're talking about, Villa. And I'm thinking to myself, top team, I think you said, top team. At the end of the season, I'm going to highlight Villa. That's not going to be the top half. And I'm going to be shocked to see that you called Villa a top team, because great start, but not a top team. So I thought you were getting.
You don't have them in your top half?
No.
It'll be interesting to see that soon.
Ooh. I don't know how that will age, but honestly, I can't see them finishing.
Like fine wine.
Yeah, that's it, man. We'll see.
Okay, let's get into it. So first thing, just quickly to brush over, just the intelligence of Luke Ayling here. And, he'll never be the best player on the pitch, maybe by performance, but in terms of quality. But he's a phenomenal player, and I love to watch him play. And just the intelligence here to see Grealish getting the ball runs across here, and Grealish runs onto it. And Ayling just has the intelligence to drop back here, and he's able to clear it off the goal line. And thank God for goal line technology, being able to
that was
make sure that one doesn't count.
Jesus, that was close.
Yeah, I was on the edge of my seat. So was Big Kev. That's my father. This was an excellent run. And if he scored this, would have been one of the best individual goals for a while. Kind of a bit Ryan Giggs-esque. So even where we're at this point right now, he ran past about 2 players before this. And then he gets the ball and he's able to hold off Costa. And he's already held off Click. So he's gone from Click to Costa. And you look here and you think they have that under control. Costa's here, Costa back. But he takes this big touch just in this direction. And he's able to take the touch with momentum whilst running as well, that he just speeds past both of them. So if you look at that now, he's just got them trailing behind. And then he goes on to go and he dummies a few players into thinking to shoot. And then luckily Meslier made the save. But phenomenal run by Jack Grealish. He is a great player. I can't deny it. He's a very good player. And it was big for Villa to secure him for the next, 5 years, I believe. Let's look at the hero. Not all heroes wear capes, and I didn't see one on Patrick Bamford's back this game. So here's what happened. So Rodrigo plays out wide to Alioski, and Alioski plays the ball into Jack Harrison. So you look, I'm going to circle Jamie Shackleton, who came on after 20 minutes for Struijk because he picked up a yellow, and then he did another challenge, which could have been a yellow, and Bielsa had it, and he brought him off, and he brought in Jamie Shackleton, 21 years old, younger than me, and very impressive. Great performance in place of Calvin Phillips, who will be out for the next couple of weeks, which is disappointing. But going back to this, you've got Rodrigo here, who plays the ball, and Jamie Shackleton. Now, I just want to circle. I'll do it in a different color. Go for this. It's a nice color. I'm just going to circle the Villa players. 2, 3, 4, 5. You'll look at these 2 Leeds players and tell me if you think otherwise. But I wouldn't be too worried. You think, oh, they have that covered.
Yeah.
Yeah. But what happens is if you watch Leeds, you'll get used to this now. But it is what we call off to the races. And I'm going to wind it forward. And here they are. They sprint so hard that Bielsa gets them so fit. And Harrison plays the ball. And Rodrigo runs onto it. And then Jamie Shackleton's able to get into the box, create options. Just the energy levels of this team it's just so amazing to watch. And every time you think they have it covered, they'll just run faster and run harder than the other team. And that's why I say, like, the fitness levels are so important to success just on its own. Forget, like, talent and ability on the ball for a second. And then if we wind it forward, Rodrigo here has a shot. It's parried out by Martinez, and Bamford's able to pounce for 1-0. And that was the first goal. And it's just the energy levels of Leeds that really created that one. And Patrick being able to pounce on it and get the finish there. Obviously, this comes down more to the brilliance of Patrick Bamford himself. I think for me, Patrick Bamford's one of those players. He comes across in interviews as a very genuine, down-to-earth guy. I think his confidence can be easily knocked as well. I think players that are quite down-to-earth, they need to feed their confidence a bit. And I think the first goal really fed his confidence. And you saw him in the first couple of games getting some goals. And as soon as he got that first goal, even though it was just kind of pouncing on an opportunity, it just gave him this confidence that suddenly he has the ability, but sometimes it's about the confidence. He hears fans, give their opinions, and they're quite strong opinions by Leeds fans. But once he gets going, he really is a great player. And just the ability to be able to swing it into the top corner here. Yeah. Lovely finish. Would you agree, Jovan? Great finish.
Great finish. You talk
great
about
finish.
That. And it's an interesting point. I think you could, this is some parts of football that we don't maybe talk about too much. And it's just about, when players have the positive energy like him, and he obviously can show his quality, which he did today, just needs a little bit of like a spark. That was that goal, obviously parried out. And I think we miss it a lot, and how that can affect a team like Leeds as well.
Yeah.
It probably will be a team where, again, talent-wise, they might not be the most sufficient. However, they're fit, they're well drilled. If you want to put it in that terms, great manager that gives them obviously confidence, but just the ability to have results like this, to beat a team 3-0, obviously away from home. Bamford obviously was full of confidence before, and more so after he saw that nets on the back of the net.
Yeah, exactly. And some players I describe as ruthless, and these players, no matter what, they just always have 100% confidence in themselves, and they never kind of listen to anything else going on. I don't think Bamford's one of those, but when he does have confidence, he is a really great player with great ability. And the reason why Bielsa always has faith in him, kept in the squad, is because he works really hard and tirelessly every game for Leeds. And I think it's something to be commended on. Even when he's not playing well, he's always working really hard. Now, going on to the third goal, and I think this is really special because obviously you look at the Villa players, 1, 2, 3, 4, all around him, surrounding him. They're like, oh, no. You've scored 2 goals. No way in hell are we giving you a hat-trick, Mr. Bamford. You can forget it. And if we find it forward a bit even more, they've gone even closer to him. They're surrounding him now, like a pack of wolves almost, even though Wolves are a different team. But he's still able to get his foot under the ball and whip it round. And it is really, for me, a better finish than the first one, because what we can't show because of the video is that he has these tiny little intricate touches almost on his tiptoes, and he's able to then shift his body round whilst keeping the ball where it is, shift his body round so he can create that angle to whip it in the far corner. Yeah. And it was really, really great control. And balance to be able to shift his body like that so he can take off that shot.
Next up, Old Trafford. Man United, goalless
against Chelsea.
Yeah, I
Big
did
man.
not see that coming. Did not see that coming, especially with Chelsea's attack. Like, didn't see it coming at all. And Man United's attack, for that matter. A lot of quality there going forward for both teams.
Yeah. Obviously, I think like most people, they would, especially given United start, they would have fancied Chelsea to come out of it.
Yeah.
However, a point apiece.
Both teams are going to be, I think, a combination of kind of glad and disappointed. So from Man United's perspective, a point against Chelsea is always a good point. But from the perspective of their season, they need to really start getting going, and they haven't yet. So that's the pros and cons from there. From Chelsea's side, obviously, would have been good to get a win. But from a defensive perspective, it's much better performance against a decent side in Man United. So if you're trying to focus on the performances, which we've said, at the moment is quite an important thing to do, a good defensive performance. They didn't create enough going forward, which is a separate concern. But looking at all the kind of attacking options they have, I wouldn't be too worried about that it's in terms of an ongoing issue. So I think both teams will be fairly happy, but also, as I said, disappointed as well. So I think let's get straight into the analysis. I thought for a second it was maybe like Kane from WWE, but it's not. It's Harry Maguire on Azpilicueta. Maybe, I don't know what you call that move, but he's got one arm around his neck, one.
I think it's called the choke slam.
Arm. Yeah, choke slam. It's quite close to the choke slam, maybe some sort of suplex, but definitely not a legal move in football. That's for sure. And again, I want to put my to anyone that can support my helpline for understanding what VAR have done here in terms of reviewing this, because clearly got his arms around him. How you can't look at VAR and say that's a stonewall penalty, I don't know. We've seen like penalties given for like little pushes, like just someone pulling an arm and just pushing them when a cross has come in. So how is that not a penalty? I don't understand. Like if anyone knows anyone who was in the VAR box at this time when the decision was made, can you please let me know what the conversation was? Because for me, it's like, it would go a little something like this. His arms around his neck, that's a penalty. Yes, I agree. Give the penalty. Like that, simple as that. I just don't understand why it wasn't given. And apparently VAR had a look. So I don't know, maybe Specsavers 2-for-1 is something they need to consider. So this is Chelsea's defense, and they've changed their system a bit. They've gone for the three at the back with the wing backs, essentially, or five at the back, whatever you want to call it. It's kind of flexible because when the wing backs push up, it's 3. When they sit back, it's 5. I quite like that sort of system. Yeah. And here you've got a nice line of 4 here, and then you've also got Thiago Silva just above them here. And Man United really struggled to break them down. Reece James came out here, and there was good communication as well from Azpilicueta. When Shaw made this run, he spoke to James and said, I've got James, you get out and take Shaw. And that's exactly what he did. And they were able to block it off and prevent anything coming into the box. So better defending from Chelsea and good communication. So just to highlight another example here, you've got 6 Chelsea players all in there ready to defend, and Man United really struggling to break them down, which was kind of the story of this game. So it was good defending by Chelsea, but something they need to be aware of here is that ball comes in from Maguire. Rashford is the striker. When you have 3 at the back and you've got 2 wing backs and they push up, as you can see, I've got one on the other side and one here in James. The strikers can exploit that by running down the channels, and that's what Rashford did here. And he's got all this space. Mm-hmm. So defenders here need to be alert to that and make sure that's not exploited. So, I think Rashford went on and he missed the chance, but it turned into a one-on-one, which is something Chelsea need to be aware of when there's wing backs. Either you need a centre midfielder or a defensive midfielder to drop in and kind of cover this space so that he can push out or something, but they need to figure out a system to kind of stop these runs from causing them troubles. But overall, for me, it was a good defensive performance from Chelsea.
No goals in the game. Both sides obviously showed their defensive qualities. Okay, we move on to Craven Cottage. Let's talk a little bit more about it. Fulham 1, Crystal Palace 2.
So yeah, it wasn't good enough from Fulham, and they're struggling to create chances, break teams down going forward. The only goal came from obviously Tom Kearney at the end with a lovely strike, but apart from that, Palace looked in complete control. And defensively, they're just all over the place. Tom Kearney himself actually was the biggest culprit. I won't go too deep into the analysis and point it out, but you need to track your runs in the Premier League. When midfielders make runs into the box, through a line of defense, and you play balls through the gaps in the defense, you have to track those runs. And Fulham were punished for not doing that. And it's a lack of communication. And I see a lot of finger pointing going on. You pick him up. It doesn't matter. You got to start taking ownership and picking up these players. And that was their downfall at the end of the day. And they were punished for it. And defensively, it looks a shambles. And for me, look like a team who are going to struggle this year all season in the Premier League.
Yeah, Fulham give us more and more reason to be more, I guess, certain that they might go down this year.
Yeah, I can't see Parker there till the end of the year.
But I think the earlier you make a change for a team like Fulham, who have shocking performances for the last 6 games, obviously.
Yeah.
But then there's a conversation: who do you bring in? So more and more reason to believe that they will be going down after this season.
Yeah. And I think Lookman looks good, and I think being able to play in the Premier League, even if it is for a side like Fulham, given that he's on loan there, he won't be stuck with the team, but it's given him a good platform to be able to show what he's capable of, and he's done really well. Obviously in Germany now, he's coming here and he's really lighting up the scene, in my opinion. And from going from a Palace perspective now, I think it was a solid performance. You needed to get 3 points. They're a team that I also personally don't believe will crack the top 10 this season. But they look good. They've got some good players. Zaha is obviously a class player, and it's a shame that he doesn't play for a team where they get European football because he's such a good player. But no, Palace overall, good performance and a much needed 3 points against teams like Fulham if you are going to push for the top 10. So overall, if you're a Palace fan, I'd be pretty happy with that.
A battle at Burnley. Tottenham travelled to Burnley, and obviously this game was an interesting one. We mentioned Tottenham, how they've responded well since some tough results earlier in the season, and we're able to take a 1-0 win away at Burnley, which I think is always a good result. It's never easy. A lot of managers will say it's never easy going away at Burnley, even harder when there's fans. However, I think the struggles are continuing at Burnley. They would have known it would be tough to beat or get anything out of a team like Tottenham, and with that, Tottenham jumps right into healthy positions in the table. So positive.
Every single year, you watch the champions of that season have games where they don't play as well, but they get the 3 points, and that's exactly what Tottenham did. In summary, beautiful play between Kane and Son. Son has an knack for scoring against Burnley. He always scores against Burnley. I don't know what it is, but great finish. But yeah, Burnley had great chances. I mean, Kane saved them heading it off the line, but did just enough to win. I think it was one of those games where Burnley were a bit unlucky, to be honest. I don't think their performance was amazing, but they didn't play badly. And, before Tottenham scored it still could have gone either way. Either team could have snatched it. But Tottenham are the ones that are getting the job done at the moment, as I said, and that's what you need to do if you're pushing for the top 4, or even more than that. So if you're a Tottenham fan, pretty pleased with that. Based on the performances so far, it's been all pretty positive since that first game against Everton, as I mentioned.
Mourinho obviously will be wanting to create something special.
Yeah, we'll see if they can keep it going.
Let's travel to Wolverhampton as Wolves hosted Newcastle in a 1-1 draw. Let's hear your thoughts, Morgan, on that one.
It was an okay game. Not too much going on. Another 2 points drop for Wolves. So it's disappointing from a Wolves perspective because we keep talking about it, how they're dropping points, and they want to be pushing for Europe this year. They've got a good enough side, a deep enough team as well. but you need to be getting 3 points from this game, and conceding an 89th minute goal from a free kick just isn't good enough. I just want to quickly go into this match and just show you kind of the perspective from both goals. Here's the Wolves free kick that they scored from, obviously. Just going to circle Joe Linton with Jimenez there. So obviously he's picking him up there, no problems. Ball comes in. But here's Joe Linton and here's Jimenez. So one guy's dropped off and you haven't followed him at all. And he's caught ball watching. Comes to Jimenez and we know what happens next. Phenomenal strike. Simple as that. Just not picking up your man. Schoolboy stuff. I know it's cliche, but it really is. Mark your man. Simple as that. Where your man goes, you follow him. So a striker capable of what Jimenez is capable of when it comes to finishing, you pick him up when he peels off. And he didn't, and they were punished. Simple as that.
Credit now, for the goal, obviously.
Yeah. Great finish. Now coming to the Newcastle goal, obviously Murphy scoring. The wall is there to protect your near post because you usually dart to the other one. So the keeper stands next to the post and he lines them up so that the angle's right. So how this ball has curled in like that shouldn't happen. That shouldn't happen. That's what your wall's there for. But Patricia hasn't done a good enough job with the wall, and the ball bends in, and Newcastle score. And 89th minute, the way that's gone down, Wolves are going to feel like that's 2 points lost. Because Newcastle didn't create many chances. Their expected goals were very low. I think something like 0.22. And they were still able to nick a result as they did against Tottenham. But yeah, Wolves are going to be disappointed with that. And at some point you have to say, like, you know, that's 3 games they haven't won. And you look at their great performance against Leeds, a great side. Why they can't replicate that against Newcastle and create more, I don't know. But yeah, disappointing for Wolves.
Yeah, on the reversely, Newcastle we'll talk about maybe a little bit more as the season goes on. Obviously, I don't know. I think they've picked up some of the results. Final game, we travel to Brighton as Slaven Bilic's West Brom look to get the first win of the year. 1-1 in the end. Tough game to comment on, obviously. Two teams that, one team that is seriously looking at a relegation. Brighton have the quality that they should not be really thinking about relegation in the Gran Posa. However, you never know what can happen. Still early days.
Yeah, but the pack are moving away from them.
Yeah.
And again, Brighton not picking up 3 points. Yet to get that win. And yeah, they had the win there. They were up 1-0. And first half was all Brighton, all one-way traffic. And they look like a really good team. Creative Lamperty looks great as always. They look sharp, kind of well-drilled again, similar to Southampton. But then second half comes and they start, they just start losing it. And West Brom work their way back into the game. And then they start creating chances. And luckily they were able to put one of them away towards the end of the game. And from Brighton again, 2 points lost. Same old for Brighton. And at some point, I think fans are going to need to realise it may be another season where it's just about surviving this year. But let's see how far away they can stay from what I'm calling the bottom 4 at the moment of West Brom, Fulham, Sheffield United and Burnley.
Yeah.
As long as you can stay away from them, it will be okay. But yeah, look, Brighton, young team, long way to go. So they're just going to keep building on. But if you look at their first half performance, it was great. Just need to be consistent for 90 minutes. And they let West Brom get back in the game. That's what led to the goal.
Slaven Bilic's side, I'm behind you, mate. But two of my teams, obviously, I would like to see Fulham and the two teams that got promoted last year with Leeds, Fulham and West Brom, to stay up. You put them in the bottom 4. Couldn't agree more. It's going to be tough.
No rhyme there.
Yeah. Overall, 10 matches, as always. It will always be that way. Match week number 6. Results from both ways that would have been, as we always say, surprise, but also some results that are looking more like the teams that we saw last year.
Everton still remains top of the table despite losing this week, as we mentioned, and we'll be back. Obviously, this was episode 5 of TFF podcast. We have more stuff coming your way. The first TFF +1 will be coming out later this week with Tyrese Fona, Nottingham Forest player, currently on loan at Plymouth Argyle. Interesting talk with Tyrese. That's
Great to speak to him.
Talking about match week 7. Talking, obviously, speaking about having both of us from the channel. We having a good time creating the channel and learning from a ton of mistakes that we're making, and obviously enjoying it along the way. We very much appreciate all the support so far in terms of views, subscribers, shares, or whatever it is. Even if you're just looking at it for 1 second and logging off, we still appreciate that as well. Anything helps, but obviously we are trying to make everything better, and we believe every day, every upload is going to be a better and better channel, and we'll see what happens along the road. But for us, the main thing of the footy forum is to create an area and a community where we can talk about football and connect, obviously, the Europe and North American perspectives and views on the game. Morgan, finish us off, mate.
Yeah, it's been another great episode. As Jovan said, we're getting better and better, I feel. And we want feedback as well. So feel free to get in touch with us. We want to connect with anyone that is watching us and our viewers. We want to connect with them, get an understanding of what they kind of want to see from us as well. We want to deliver the best content we can. So yeah, we want to just keep that communication going. It's a two-way channel. It's open both ways. So yeah, keep in touch, and thanks for watching, guys.
Cheers.